Hello, this is Reverend Bonnie. Welcome to lesson 13 of A Course in Miracles. Before I go any further, I do want to say, because this really caught me up yesterday, the word meaningless means without meaning, and another word for it could just be neutral. Is that the idea is that we live in a neutral world where we place our own individual meaning on it based upon our past, or if we are able to allow ourselves to touch that neutrality, then the presence of God, they called God him with a capital H in this book, but the presence of God, him, can be the author of our life writing on that neutral landscape. So we, our egoic personality, ourself, our limited habits can be what create our life, or the divine presence of love, the all of the all and the only of the only, which begins to operate through us, does so when we are awake and aware that what is ours that we've projected onto the world, and the spaces and places within our own consciousness that are neutral, that we allow and open to the divine to operate through us. So I like to throw out that word neutral instead of meaningless, because meaningless almost has a feeling of deficit, and that's not its intention by this writer. So lesson 13, here we go. A meaningless world engenders fear, or a neutral world engenders fear. Today's idea is really another form of the preceding one, except that it is more specific as to the emotion aroused. Actually, a meaningless world is impossible. Oh, thank you. Nothing without meaning exists. However, it does not follow that you will not think you perceive something that has no meaning. On the contrary, you will be particularly likely to think you do perceive it. Recognition of meaninglessness arouses intense anxiety in all the separated ones. Another way of saying that is recognition of meaninglessness without meaning arises intense anxiety in all people. It represents a situation in which God and the ego challenge each other as to whose meaning is to be written on the empty space that meaninglessness provides, or neutrality provides. The ego rushes in frantically to establish its own ideas here, fearful that the void may otherwise be used to demonstrate its own impotence and unreality. And on this alone, it is correct. It is essential, therefore, that you learn to recognize the meaningless and accept it without fear. If you are fearful, it is certain that you will endow the world with attributes that it does not possess, and crowd it with images that do not exist. To the ego, illusions are safety devices, as they must also be to those you equate with your ego. The exercises for today, which should be done about 3 or 4 times for not more than a minute or so at most each time, are to be practiced in somewhat a different way from the preceding ones. With eyes closed, and go ahead and do that, repeat today's idea to yourself. Then open your eyes and look about you, slowly saying. So we're going to start by repeating today's lesson, which is a meaningless world engenders fear. A meaningless world engenders fear. And then open your eyes and look around slowly and say, I am looking at a meaningless world. Repeat this statement to yourself as you look about. Then close your eyes and conclude with, a meaningless world engenders fear because I think I am in competition with God. You may find it difficult to avoid resistance in one form or another to this concluding statement. Whatever form such resistance may take, remind yourself that you are really afraid of such a thought because of the vengeance of the enemy. You are not expected to believe the statement at this point and will probably dismiss it as preposterous. Note carefully, however, any sign of overt or covert fear that might arise. This is our first attempt at stating an explicit cause and effect relationship of a kind which you are very inexperienced in recognizing. Do not dwell on the concluding statement and try not even to think about it during the practice periods. That will suffice at present. And what I want to share with you is that all discomfort, anxiety, fear, concern is energy. It's all just energy. So the first time that I touched that emptiness inside of myself, it was so hollow and so vast and so big and such a cavern that there was a tendency to want to tremble in its presence. But when I learned that I can sit with any feeling tone that happens in my body temple, then I become master of my being. The I am in me masters my being. And so what I've come to learn is that if anxiety rises, I breathe through it and I welcome it. And I say, you are welcome here, and you are simply energy. So as you make bold statements like this world is neutral or this world is meaningless, and you let those parts of you rise up that want to fight, then let them rise up because you get that opportunity to sit with them. And so I share that with you as I'm aware that we so often allow our emotions to control our thoughts and behaviors when they are byproducts of our thoughts and behaviors, and we have it backwards. All right, I love you. Have a really fantastic day, and I can hardly wait to see you tomorrow. We will have completed 2 weeks tomorrow, and stuff is starting to move and shake. Love and blessings.